All right.
Mic is on.
Microphone check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Earthbound conversation.
Woo!
It's Aries season.
Welcome back. This is Earthbound Conversations with Sharon and
Lindsay.
Woo, woo. So today we are talking about, are you a giver, a taker, and how well do you receive? How well do we receive?
I'm doing better. We're getting better. I used to, compliments still make me feel funny.
Yes.
Like, I can feel inside something in me trying to shut down of, I don't want to hear that, don't say that. But even though it feels good,
Yes.
Compliments are still an issue for me.
Okay.
Gifts sometimes are, if they're a surprise, but it's better than the compliments. And receiving help is getting better, and
Yes.
feeling worthy of help.
Yes.
I kind of think about for myself, receiving is hard because I'm wondering if I am worthy of even receiving what I want, and receiving the help.
Yes.
I just have to do it on my own. My brain, that part of myself, that ego or part of unhealed or wounded part feels like, am I even worthy of receiving this help, assistance, money, knowledge, clients, all of it. So.
Yes. I would say, I had a reader once say to me, how dare you want to give to other people, and when someone wants to give to you, you reject it, and how hurtful that would feel to someone who was excited to give you a gift. Also, another thing is all of our gifts are in front of us, but they are waiting for us to open them. So there's a lot of unanswered prayers because we refuse to open it, or it looks a certain way, or we feel bad to take because we've been so used to giving, and like Lindsay said, not feeling worthy of receiving. But in the word it says, knocking the door shall be open, seeking ye shall find. And I always get that message is, ask for what it is you want. Because if people don't know, they can't give. We want to kind of gear this segment to, what does it feel like to receive, which we just touched on. What is it like to give? What is it like for you to give to people? What does that feel like?
It feels nice. It feels nice to be able to give, especially like with a massage, give people, the time to be able to relax, to be able to turn their brain off, to kind of give them a space for healing.
Yes.
I remember when I volunteered at animal shelters, that always made me feel so good, because it was at a Second Chance here in Raleigh, and they had a cat care center, and I love just going with the cats and volunteering, cleaning up, and getting to spend time with them at the end of my shift. And it felt like I was doing good in the world and giving back.
And was that therapeutic for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was therapeutic. It felt so good to just, even though sometimes they had their own personality, some of them were so ungrateful.
Did they scratch you?
Oh yeah, some of them, yes. And sometimes some of the cats were so mean. But then you had the other ones who were just such sweeties. I'm like, can I take you home? I just want to take you home. You're so sweet.
Yeah.
And it also really humbled me in certain ways, even giving to see like where, not even a human being, but in, a small little feline, what they've gone through. And it's made me appreciative. I remember there was one, before I stopped volunteering, there was one cat in particular that was blind and deaf.
Oh.
And his favorite thing was to just sit in the sun, because he could at least have light come through his eyes.
Yes.
And he just would sit there in the sun and be happy, and he just loved pets, and that's all he liked. And he was happy and content, and it made me just really think about life in itself too. Sorry, totally off topic.
But you know what? Pets have personalities too. My in-laws own the horse farm, and I tell you, they have some unique horses which represents freedom, they have some unique personalities, and they are very intuitive and sensitive, so they can sense when there's some fear going on. They can sense when they can get away with certain things, when you're riding on their back. They all have character. And it's not really necessarily off topic, because during the pandemic, a lot of people got pets as a comfort, as a companionship, whether it was because they were away from the office and it helped to ease anxiety. And so then I guess it was hard when everybody started going back into the office if people are not working at home anymore. However, in the community I was living in, it was a huge dog community, and it got people moving and exercising as well, because when you have to take a pet out for a walk to go to the bathroom, that means you have to move as well, unless you have a huge backyard and they can just free themselves. So but that is a great way to also learn to give and receive. And I feel like with animals, you don't feel like they're taking from you or taking advantage. They usually are all excited and greeting you at the door, like, oh, I missed you. And I'm sure that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful feeling. I do not have any dogs or cats.
When you have 6 cats around you, like, hi, it's so good to see you. Oh my God. You're like, I feel immortal.
So, but yeah, that's very eye-opening. And how you can connect in different ways, because sometimes we think it always has to be people.
Exactly. And I also feel like it really taught me to give without attachment as well, because technically that cat can't give anything back to me.
Yes.
And it was volunteer work.
Yes.
And in some cases it's just give without being attached to why am I going to get something back?
Yes.
I just even though I was like, oh, I'd like to pet them and stuff, I just wanted to do it because I know they needed my time.
Yes.
And I wanted to be able to help, because I know that cat care, some people don't like cats, so they don't get as many volunteers as people who want to work with dogs.
Yeah.
And so you just do it because you care and you want to.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. Thank you for drawing us in that direction, because sometimes we get caught up on the humanly side of things and we fail to realize or to see how animals can affect you in that manner. Well, let's shift to the takers. What's that like?
I mean, sometimes it feels like where people talk about like energetic vampires almost. It can feel like somebody who's just expecting of your time all the time. It can feel almost like in a relationship where they're like, I want all this love, I want all this care, but they're not giving as much back. It can be that way in friendships. It can be that way in work relationships with clients maybe. Where they expect more time of you, even though they booked an hour and a half, but they're wanting to linger or be around and be like, let me talk more to you. Even though the session has ended, it's been 15 minutes past then and they're still trying to hang around. So I think that's like kind of a feeling of a taker.
Yeah, I think I resonate with that as well. And then it's hard that you have to kind of create that boundary because you're so used to it, or we've spoiled people, and then now it's like, okay, well, I really need to go. I've had times where I'm like, okay, I need to have my lunch and I got a client in 10 minutes, and they're like, oh, well, you don't have much time, but yet they're still talking to me, and now I'm down to 7 minutes and I still need to heat up my food. So I think if people could be mindful, but sometimes we have to make people aware, because like you were saying, that takers don't always know that they're doing that.
Yeah, it's sometimes very unintentional. Definitely, it seems like a lot of the times people who have almost a lack mentality or something, they feel like they're lacking within self, and then whatever they're searching for, they instead of going internally, they go externally and look for it in a person. And so it's almost like their addiction, instead of it being a substance, is being addicted to being around a person. Almost kind
or
of
codependent.
Codependent. Yeah. Exactly. So something like that, I can definitely see that as a taker dynamic right there.
Yeah, definitely. I would say some of my things is, learning to receive can be hard. I have gotten better. because it used to be, no, you shouldn't have, or when someone gives me a compliment, I have to negate it. I don't really need to negate it, anymore. Getting better at it. But you've run that fine line of being arrogant and cocky, like, oh, thank you, I know I'm the best, to learning to be very humble and vulnerable and just open to receiving. And again, if you say, I want X, Y, and Z, and your frequency don't match it, it's hard to receive that. And sometimes the things we're receiving is the mindset that we're at, even down to an experience. I have some people that I could be all bubbly and I greet people and say, oh, how are you doing? Someone will be with you shortly. Then I can have someone else walking by, well, how did you get that response? I didn't get that response. Well, what does your energy say? You need to check your energy. You might have a hard time receiving, or you've been one of those who possibly been taking too much. And it could be perspective, looking at things differently in a warped perception, like it's very grainy, it's very gray for you. You can't see clearly. And so you want to have that balance as far as how much do I give? How much am I willing to receive? And how much am I willing to allow people to take from? And then how much are takers in my energy field, and how can I find balance and boundaries with it?
Yeah, because that's also a big part of it too, is people can only take what you allow them to as well.
Yes,
and sometimes as well, people, even if it's scary to do boundaries, it's like, oh, what are they going to say? How are they going to feel?
Yeah.
We have to be mindful of, our well cannot be drained.
Yes,
we need to leave some for ourselves, or else we become bitter, especially as, we do massage and you do spirit work, and you have to make sure that there is enough for you to be able to give to people. And if one person or a couple people are really taking and pulling, there's none left for everyone else and yourself.
That's right, and that's called robbing.
Yes, exactly. And so you have to really check where do I need to put boundaries to make sure people aren't taking? Because then if you lay the boundary and then they still cross it, that's when you got to check them at the door, be like, no, you are not allowed to be here. If you cannot, you hear my boundary, respect it. If you can't, we can no longer continue this service, relationship, friendship.
Yes, and I've had to end a lot of relationships, business-wise, friendship-wise, even family members. It's just I had to create a boundary, because the more I gave, the more they took. And it was just like, it was weird, because when I cut the cord, then they didn't ask for that anymore. Or I put my foot down, and I'm like, oh, well, that's all I had to do? And then I felt better. I didn't feel all that anxiety around them or feelings of regret. And then I was able to enjoy the relationship a little bit more. Sometimes we're afraid to speak up to people who are takers.
And I will add to that. I have been definitely the person who has had to learn boundaries. And I will say it does make relationships better. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, I just want to go with the flow. I don't want to put those boundaries because I don't want to do that and interrupt anything. But I think a relationship without boundaries is very unhealthy, because
I agree.
You want to make sure that it's like equal give and take, and then you can know of, oh, let me not do this to the person. I need to respect them, because if you're friends or lovers or business partners, you should have respect for that person, and that means respect for what they do like, don't like, and boundaries.
And even if you don't know what someone do and don't like, that's a chance to get to know people, play that game of what is it that you do and don't like. Because sometimes we assume we know people and we don't.
Yeah.
Or you know them on one level but not other levels. There's different parts and aspects to us that people don't get to experience. Different people bring out different personalities in you. Some people bring out joy. Some people can bring out depression. We all have little things kind of tucked in the pockets. And then, some of us could be jokesters. Some of us can be encouragers. Some of us can be very creative. Whatever it is, we learn that you give a little, you take a little, you learn to receive and have that balance. It's not going to be that you have to always be, oh, I'm a giver all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn to receive.
Yes.
And with all of that being set up, how do we want to wrap this up and close it out, Miss Lindsay?
Definitely communicate. Communication is very important.
Yes.
It's not going to be always perfect with relationships.
Yes.
There's going to be moments where we unexpectedly are taking from people, and we have to check ourselves, and where we might slip back into patterns. But relationships aren't always going to be sunshine, rainbows, and daisies.
Oh.
There's going to be conflict, and that's okay.
That's right.
And it's okay to communicate and speak up. Don't allow it to fester. Speak up. And one of my tools that I learned from doing a tantra challenge with Jason was a lot of the times in relationships, he would ask if they were romantic every week or every couple weeks or once a month or however you would like to do it. Was 1, what do you like that I'm doing?
Yes.
2, what do I do that you don't like?
Yes.
And 3, what am I not doing that you wish I would do more?
Oh, that's powerful. That's amazing. And on all levels, that's amazing in relationships, and especially if you have a girlfriend or someone you hang out with a lot, or if it's a client that you see that really trusts you with their life on the journey that they're on. Like, okay, what would you like? That's one of the things that I'll say sometimes in a massage. If there's too much pressure, let me know. If it's too little, if you find an area I hit that you want me to stay there a little longer, communicate that if that feels good. Some people will communicate that feels really good. And so I get the signal, okay, stay there a little longer. And then I'll check in and say, well, how does that feel for you? Mm-hmm. And then and that's a part of feeling heard.
Yeah.
It's a big part of feeling heard. Or when you do an intake form and they say, these are my focus areas. Okay, well, let me focus on the focus areas and then also pamper you. Leave a little bit of time to pamper other areas that you may not have known or part of the trigger or whatever it is that you have going on.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to be of service to people in a powerful, life-changing manner where they can leave to talk about it and say, you've got to have this experience with this person, whatever service it is that you're offering.
Yeah.
We thank you for trusting us. We thank you for listening to us. Mm-hmm. We hope that you have found some very useful information in this segment, and we would ask you to click like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.